Hi, I'm John Waterhouse, and this is Weekday Wisdom. Thank you for joining me today. As I do with each one of these segments, I ask you a question. And my question for you today is, what could you see and hear if you were deaf and blind? I want to share with you some things about an American hero to answer that question. Someone you've heard of course. Her name is Helen Keller. She was an American author, a political activist, and a public speaker. She traveled around the world sharing her thoughts. Yet she was deaf and blind. She was born in June of 1880 in a little town in Alabama. This was 15 years after the end of the Civil War. When she was just a baby, 19 months old, she contracted some illness that her doctors described as an acute congestion of the stomach and the brain. In other words, they didn't know what it was. Experts now think she probably had scarlet fever or meningitis. Whatever illness it was, it left her both deaf and blind before she was 2 years old. She wrote in her biography years later that her life was like being at a sea in a dense fog. None of us that have our sight or our hearing could imagine what it must have been like for a child, a teenager, a young adult, and then a woman that lived for nearly a century to experience her life from that place of deafness and blindness. You would never expect anyone, especially someone who lived 150 years ago, to achieve much in their life with such severe disabilities. But that wasn't to be Helen Keller's life. She went to school, she went to college. She was the first deaf and blind person to earn a Bachelor of Arts degree. She told her story of herself and her teacher, Anne Sullivan, through her autobiography, which was called The Story of My Life. And then there was the film and the stage play that followed called The Miracle Worker. Helen Keller was a prolific author. She wrote all the time. She also traveled the world as much as possible. She was a sought-after speaker, and she was profoundly wise. So what I want to share with you over the next few minutes are some of Helen Keller's words of wisdom. So I want you just to sit back if you can. I don't think you're driving. So sit back and let these ideas kind of wash over you. Maybe something wonderful will touch your heart. These are the words of Helen Keller. Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence. Although the world is full of suffering, it is also full of the overcoming of it. We can do anything we want so long as we stick to it long enough. Character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experiences of trial and trouble can the soul be strengthened, ambition be inspired, and success be achieved. Give your face to the sunshine, and you cannot see any shadow. The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart. Security is mostly superstition. It does not exist in nature. Avoiding danger is no safer in the long run than outright exposure. Life is either a daring adventure or nothing. We could never learn to be brave and patient if there were only joy in the world. The world is moving along, not only by the mighty shouts of its heroes, but also by the many tiny pushes offered up by each honest person. Once enjoyed, what we have can never be lost. All that we love deeply becomes a part of us. We can never be content to creep when we feel an impulse to soar. Walking with a friend in the dark is better than walking alone in the light. Knowledge is love and light and vision. A marvelous richness of human experience would lose something if there were no limitations to overcome. The mountaintop would not be half so wonderful if there were not dark valleys to traverse. There is no king who has not had a slave among his ancestors, and there is no slave who has not had a king among his. To me, a lush carpet of pine needles or spongy grass is more welcoming than the most luxurious Persian rug. It's wonderful to climb the liquid mountains of the sky. Behind me and before me is God, and I have no fears. I long to accomplish a great and noble task, but it is my chief duty to accomplish small tasks as if they were great and noble. Many people have the wrong idea of what constitutes true happiness. It's not attained through self-gratification, but through fidelity to a worthy purpose. It is for us to pray, not for tasks equal to our powers, but for powers equal to our tasks. To go forward with a great desire, ever beating at the door of our hearts as we travel toward our destiny. When we do the best we can, we never know what miracle is brought into our life or into the life of another. Until the great mass of people shall be filled with a sense of responsibility for each other's welfare, social justice can never be attained. We may have found a cure for most evils, but we have not found a remedy for the worst of them all, the state of human apathy. It is not possible for civilization to flow backwards while there are youth in the world. No pessimist ever discovered the secret of the stars, or sailed to an uncharted land, or opened a new doorway for the human spirit. What I am looking for is not out there. It is within me. So long as the memory of certain beloved friends are in my heart, I shall say that life is good. No one has the right to consume happiness without producing it. Your success and your happiness lie in you. Resolve to keep happy, and your joy and you shall form an invincible host against all difficulties. Death is no more than passing from one room to another. But there is a difference for me, you know, because in the other room, I shall be able to see. I want to read that last one again. Death is no more than passing from one room to another. But there is a difference for all of us, because in that other room, we are able to see. I hope something in there touched your heart. It certainly did mine. Now go out and have a fantastic day.